say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Welcome to Brainstorm.
We have the explicit tag for a reason.
This is a base level argument to a higher level morality.
I get paid to science?
To science as much as one can science.
What the hell was my point?
Trigger warning. The Brainstorm podcast will criticize your most cherished beliefs. We attack nonsense in all its forms and discuss difficult subjects. If you peddle pseudoscience, supernatural woo, or religious dogma, then this is not your safe place. This is the home of hardcore skepticism.
It wasn't flavor, it just...
All right. Hi, and welcome to the Brainstorm Podcast Skeptic Studio, where we do interviews, major topics, and news related to skepticism and atheism. I'm Cory, and my panel tonight are Angela.
Hello.
Basit.
Hello.
Rene.
Hello.
Destin.
Hey, I'm not a racist.
And Lisa.
I hope I'm not either.
With the always amazing Dave doing sound.
And Dave's a greasy Mexican.
Oh, dude.
Just because he sounds
That
like James
escalated.
Earl Jones doesn't make him.
We're here in Roman Empire
Canadian.
Studios in Regina, Saskatchewan, and today is October 27th, 2017. Our guest tonight is Rob Ray from the Secular Yakking podcast. Thanks for joining us, Rob.
Hey, glad to be on with you guys. A little bit of payback from when you were on my show.
Oh, yeah, a little bit, eh? Although this will probably not be nearly as interesting. We have a full crew, and it's kind of chaotic.
No focus.
All
Well,
right.
I'll do what I can.
Throwing candy is not okay. Gumby.
No, gummies.
All right.
So Rob, what's your story?
Yeah.
I've got a lot of stories. Which one would you like to hear?
I start with the one about like a really gory birth story. I want to hear like the story of your birth.
Like splat, wah, kind of.
I don't have that
Don't
one.
you remember?
I don't have that one.
No.
Hey, stop freaking him out, people. He's Jesus.
So, yeah, well, I run a podcast, obviously, called Secular Yakking, which I generally have co-host with my wife, but she's unavailable tonight. So it's just me, which is not quite as much fun. And we thought the show would be necessary because I wanted to say stuff.
Fair enough.
And so originally it was attached to another project I was working on, and Amy came in and saw what I was getting ready to do, and she said, "No, you're not doing that because people fall asleep."
Really?
Yes, she did. So she's like, "Okay, I'll do the podcast with you." So I've been asking her for a couple years to do something like this, and she finally took pity on me and did it.
So how
That's
long have you
awesome.
guys been going?
About 2.5 years.
So,
Nice.
so she changed what you were going to do for the show and then agreed to be on it.
Yes.
So you're podcast whipped.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
So they're married.
Yeah,
He already said
that's
that.
fine. Yeah, no. Just want to get everything in like ducks in a row kind of thing.
Right.
There.
You're a duck in a
You
row.
let me come on this show.
So how long have you been an atheist?
For pretty much ever. I mean, I had bouts of belief here and there, but never really believed wholeheartedly. So it was just sort of something that never piqued my interest. So I just was an atheist.
And what got you into skepticism?
I looked at what was going on probably about 9 years ago. I started hooking up with other atheists on Facebook. Before then, I'd never met another atheist at all, right? Never knew anybody that was. And then I started seeing what was going on in the between the religious community and government. And I said, somebody needs to do something about this. There's people doing it, but this seems like something I'm really interested in. I mean, I was already into politics and stuff like that, and then added in the secular activism, and it was just something that fit. So that's what I do.
That
Right,
sounds really cool.
You've done other things other than just the podcast. What are some of the other projects you've done?
Well, I've been the president of a humanist group for the past 8 years. So that's been fun. Then there for about 2.5 years, I ran a group called the Original Motto Project, which was our goal was to change the motto back to E Pluribus Unum as opposed to In God We Trust, which it is now. And that became very, very challenging. I hit a lot of roadblocks on that one.
What does the old motto mean?
E Pluribus Unum means out of many, one. Yeah.
So this is the old motto for the United States government. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. Originally, it was in 1780. Let me get my numbers right. 1786. They finally put it on the Great Seal when they finally got the Great Seal designed. That was one of the things they put on there. And so it's been on the Great Seal ever since. And it was considered the de facto motto until 1956 when Congress changed it.
1956, that recent, hey?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
It's crazy
And
how recent
During the
that
Red
was.
Scare.
My dad was
Yeah.
born in 1956.
Yeah, and prior to that, In God We Trust was only on coins, which would started in 1864 during the Civil War.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, that was one of my passions. I'm still into that. I'm just taking a break from the project right now because it gets pretty stressful occasionally. There's a lot to deal with, and there's a lot to work around because it's such a difficult issue.
There's quite a lot of hubris in that motto, right? Like there's a lot of people out there, but we trust that God is on our side. God's going to do this shit for us. No one else. This is for us. We trust in that.
The really funny
we
thing
are
about
fucking
it
amazing.
is America, the whole ideal and the whole dream and the whole building of the country was to escape religious persecution. And then they put it on their money.
Right.
Partially to escape religious persecution.
Well, the original seal, as suggested by Franklin, Jefferson, and Adams, had religious connotations on it. Had Moses on the back of it. But Congress just did not like it, so they made them go back and do it again.
Huh.
But it took them 10 years before they finally got a seal.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 3 committees, and it was finally just designed by one guy who took ideas from all 3 committees, put them together, and there's our seal.
American bureaucracy in action.
And what is it? Like
Yeah,
eagle? What is it? What is the seal? I
Yeah,
don't
it's
even
the eagle. So the current seal, I don't have it in front of me, but it's the eagle holding an olive branch and 13 arrows,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then the banner going through his beak with E Pluribus Unum on it, and then the stars above his head.
It's only got like slightly religious undertones
That's
there.
busy.
It does. In fact, the Eye of Providence is on it. So, it's there.
That's the Illuminati, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't say that. He's listening to you right now.
Yeah, what are you trying to do? Get us off the air?
Yeah. We're trying to
It's
build
actually
you.
the Illuma lizards.
I'm trying to get some more feedback for the podcast.
More thumbs downs on YouTube? What's wrong with you?
Hey,
We're trying to pander over here.
I'm a fucking rebel.
Because that's
Kick
what
me
we
off.
do over here. That's what this podcast is about.
So what's your day job?
I am an electrician,
Nice.
That's a smart decision.
generally. I've regretted it.
You're
a few
generally
days.
an electrician.
Electricians.
I don't know. I'm kind of
awesome.
shocked by his decision.
All right, you're out.
What?
Well,
Yeah, we're going to start that tonight. We're going to.
Personality. Wow.
Hey,
He's
and
probably pretty enlightened.
where are you located?
I just north of Seattle.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like Bellingham?
Not that far north. I'm kind of in between.
Does your job have a lot of breaks?
Does my job have a lot of breaks?
Yes.
There's
It's a pun. It's a pun. It's a pun.
I'm disappointed.
Oh.
I'm disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
That's terrible. It was resist the urge to answer. You don't have the capacitance to do it.
I'm not on Lisa's
all
level.
right. Oh my God.
That really hurt.
I can't be positive
currently
around
not.
you guys.
I am currently not laughing. So.
Yes!
Well, I can see why you regret being an electrician now.
He's currently not laughing. That might be my
So you're an electrician currently?
I'm curious. I'm curious
All right, we're
to
done,
know
we're
more
done.
about this original motto thing. Like, did you notice a lot of support? Did you notice a lot of backlash? Like you said, it was problematic and kind of a hard thing to do. Like, in what ways was it challenging for you?
Well, originally when I first did it, I got a lot of pushback from even the secular community saying this is a tiny little thing. It's already been decided in the courts. Why are you wasting time on this?
Really?
Right. Yeah, I got a lot of that.
Wow.
And I was like, well, there are no small infractions of the Constitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
There, an infraction is an infraction. It's a violation whether it's small or big, right? And my biggest thing was this particular one is the worst one in my opinion because it's used as precedent for every other attempt to infringe on the separation of church state, because they always say, well, it's on our money and it's our motto. Obviously we're a Christian nation.
Yes.
Well, and it's forcing every other group to, because everybody has to use American money there, right?
Correct.
So you have your Muslims and your Buddhists and everybody forced to use this "In God We Trust" crap. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, and it's not just about being on the money. It's about being on police cars. It's about being
Right.
in city councils and county councils. It's about being on the behind the dais in Congress. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there, and this is, and that's why I was so passionate about it, because it's so intrusive. It's everywhere, and it is so hard to fight.
I think that's fair. I think that's a really noble pursuit.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can get back into that one day.
I think I will. Like I said, I need to take a break. I'm just recovering from knee surgery, so that's got a lot to do with it.
Okay.
So I'm kind of taking a break from a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's fair. You got to heal up.
Yeah.
Hold back on the business.
Well, to answer your question, he does take breaks. Just saying.
Or you thought you were on like a brainstorm podcast. It was just punny. No.
That's all we do.
Need to punt that down the road.
Puns are just painful. Let's just
I agree. No more puns.
no more puns.
I think Cory's going to just shout out, "Okay, kids, we're stopping the car and you're walking the rest of the way.
Everybody out.
This is why we can't have nice things."
Poor Cory.
This is what I put up with.
Yes.
So are you
This is all you
fairly?
can get.
So besides your show, are you fairly active in the community? Do you go to a lot of conferences and events?
Try to. It's kind of hard to go to conferences because I'm broke a lot. So usually if I'm in a conference, I'm working the conference in some way.
Wait, you're a broke electrician? You're living in the wrong country, man. Move up here.
Yeah, there's a huge demand for electricians here.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
There's been challenges lately here too.
I don't know. Canadian Power? Yeah. Weird stuff.
That's what you guys use.
Yeah, I
This is
thought
going to turn
about
into a
it.
Canada versus U.S. debate, isn't it? We're better.
No,
Not
they're
necessarily.
like they're
Yeah,
like
they're the same.
They're
Yeah,
the same.
yeah.
we're in the nice apartment upstairs, and you guys are in the grungy basement suite. You're the ones that are loud and
Let's not
obnoxious.
criticize the country of origin of our friend here. It's not,
Just
it's
teasing.
not fair.
What does that make Mexico?
Let's not go there.
That's what many people say.
That was sharp.
So what's your favorite topic to cover on your podcast, Rob?
Well, I like to cover politics because it's what I do. We like to find especially hypocritical politics and politicians who want to use their power for their own gain.
It must be tricky to find that.
Especially right now.
What's the latest
Yeah,
one you've covered?
Let me think. I did. Roy Moore is always on our radar.
Right.
We oddly enough, we try to stay away from Trump because it's like
It's
fish in a barrel. right?
It's like fishing a fish.
Or a barrel in a barrel.
We have a segment on the show called the Potter Award, and it's based on, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but the movie It's a Wonderful Life.
I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you remember Mr. Potter was
Yes.
pretty much a dick, right?
Well, by your opinion.
So we based the award on politicians that act like a Mr. Potter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bureaucrats or people who are just out no matter what. They just want what they want no matter who they have to run over to get it, right? And one of my favorites is the sheriff from Hunt County, Texas, I think it is. He used his power as sheriff to do some pretty horrible things. There was a flood, and so he pulled his sheriffs off of patrol to go to his house to save his furniture. It gets worse. It gets worse because Potter awards always get worse. The sheriffs got stuck, so he pulled the deputies out of the prison to go unstuck to free the other sheriffs, and they all went to his house to save his furniture.
So nobody's at the prison now.
Pretty much. And the whole place is flooding. Yeah.
I'm sure I saw this on an episode of Dukes of Hazzard.
Sounds like it.
That's awful, man.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I find for Potter Award winners. And usually they have to do 2 or 3 horrible things, and that's just the way it is.
Do you inform them they won this award?
I thought about it several times, and I'm like, nah, I don't care.
Just hit them up on Twitter. I'm sure they'd be.
You should invite them. Invite them to give acceptance.
Let them try to defend their actions.
How do you defend that, though?
Actually, I did inform one, the first one, and that was related to an In God We Trust issue. That was one of my first In God We Trust wins. It's the one in Del Norte County, California. And I had written the council a letter, and we offer e pluribus unum to an e pluribus unum plaque to any council that's thinking about putting In God We Trust. Well, I forgot his name. But one of the counselors wrote me back, and he's like, I'm interested in what you're doing. Tell me more about it. Right. And then I sent him all the information that we have. Come to find out, this is the guy that proposed In God We Trust. Right.
Really?
And then he gets on there, and I'm watching the council meeting, and he's talking about it. He said this group, wrote me this stupid letter kind of stuff, and I got kind of pissed off. So I started digging into his political history. Turns out he's an Ultimate Potter Award winner. He had some pretty bad stuff in his history. It's one of our, I think it's our first episode. Wow. And I made sure that he knew that we talked about him.
Nice.
Yeah, he kind of pissed me off. I even sent some of his stuff and the letters, because he sent me a letter back right after that, and he said, hey, we won, kind of giving me the finger. And, I sent that to the local news station. The news station picked it up, and then the mayor found out about it. And at the next meeting, he's like, I'm kind of pissed about this. Let's vote on e pluribus unum. And guess what? Now they have e pluribus unum too.
Nice.
That's fantastic. So you did stuff.
I do stuff.
So
occasionally.
Do you pay for the plaque, or do you have some like a crowdfunding type thing going on, or how do you fund that?
The idea is that we would get the local atheist or secular group to help fund it, but every time we've gotten one, it just gets rolled into whatever budget they had for In God We Trust. So basically the city pays for it, or whoever was originally funding it pays for it. So
well, that works.
Yeah, it works. Saves me a ton of money.
For sure.
Yeah. Might have to start learning how to make a plaque. I don't think it's terribly hard.
No, usually they're just a bunch of big letters, so I can just go down to Home Depot and buy them.
Yeah.
Like house letters.
Yeah, that's right.
Just send them. Let's just glue this on.
Just you peel the paper off the back and just stick it on.
Make sure you spell it out in big letters for him, though.
Yeah.
Send them a box with a bunch of loose letters.
Yeah. Here you go.
I ran out of S's, so you have to use the 2 upside down. Nobody will notice.
The M is an upside down W. No, it's not.
They send you back a letter. Yeah, you sent us the wrong letters. Like, there's supposed to be 3 W's and 4 M's, but you only sent us 7 M's. So
You could use a sidewards N as a Z.
Yep. I've done
They
that
do that in
before.
BC.
Yeah?
You have to like have an N on the back of your car when you're a new driver, but for some people to be cool,
that's what that
they
means.
rotate it 90 degrees, so now it's a Z, and there's instead of being noobs, there's zoobs. It's those who are trying to be extra cool. It's
I
really
like
actually
zoobs.
weird.
those are probably the ones causing most of the M's.
Yes, they are.
Wow.
Yes, they are. The zoobs. Anyways,
Yep.
So, Rob, you're kind of close to British Columbia.
Yeah, I'll be there in almost 2 hours.
That's way closer than us.
Yeah.
I asked about
Yeah.
Bellingham because when I lived in BC and Victoria, we got like Bellingham's radio stations. So, yeah.
That's super cool.
I have a question though. Are you from the Pacific Northwest?
No, I am not. I'm from North Carolina.
Oh, okay. Because that's why when you said you were like, growing up, I never knew any atheists, and I'm just like, that's weird. Like, I mean, it's not like they're well known for their religiosity up in Seattle, you know? But North Carolina, yes, that makes way more sense.
Yeah.
How long have you lived in Seattle area?
Almost 9 years now.
Nice.
So it's been not bad. I've lived a few places. Lived in Utah, Idaho, Montana, North Carolina.
That's where all the religions
Oh,
come
yeah.
from.
That's a lot of religion.
The Bible Belt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just generally, yes.
Yeah.
And then you're like, fuck religion. I'm going to go get rained on all the fucking time. Yes.
But he's
Actually,
only 2 hours away from freedom.
Yeah. I actually enjoy it here because of the clouds. I dislike the sun. So
Do you live there because you're a vampire like
Yeah,
the
I was
Cullens
just
and you don't
thinking
want to
that.
sparkle in the sunlight?
Or are you a
Be
super
honest.
ginger?
I do not sparkle.
That's exactly what that Sparkle would say.
Yeah, that actually is what a Cullen would say.
Yeah.
No, I grew up in the South, and there's nothing but sun there. And moving up here was
Well, it's
nice
rough.
to have
Sounds
some
rough.
time out of the sun.
We don't have a lot of sympathy for you since it's already like freezing temperatures here now. So we just
We got
I get it.
good electrical work here, and you can lack of sun now. So
No, we get sun though. It'll be like minus 30 and sun. Like it'll blind you
I
off
dealt
the
with
snow.
I did that in Montana.
Yeah.
I tried to wire a house once, and it was like 3 degrees outside,
Yeah.
and that was no fun.
No.
Romex doesn't like to move when it's that cold. Mm-hmm. It just breaks.
We have to go places in that temperature. Like, we can't just shut down the infrastructure. We have to, like, continue to function.
Oh, I know.
Do you think there'll ever be a time when you join the rest of the world and start using Celsius?
I wish.
I don't actually know what 3 degrees means. Like, I'm just trying to think about that. Is it like minus 10? It's like minus 10.
Negative 6-ish.
What? I was close at minus 10. Give me something.
Negative 40 is negative 40.
When do you say negative? You're just like a math dork.
Oh, I think we found the robot. Negative. So, Rob, I have a question here for you. So, we're all filled with controversial opinions that a lot of people don't agree with us on, and especially within the atheist community. What is your controversial opinion that you may totally not understand why we don't understand it?
I'm not sure if I have a controversial opinion.
Damn it,
I
Rob.
think that's my controversial opinion.
That is your controversial opinion.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
like you guys, and I agree with you.
Do you have, like, any firmly held beliefs about ketchup? Or, like...
Pineapple on pizza.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That's the latest trend. How do you feel
All
about
right, I
that?
do like pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, that's-
Me too.
Yeah,
me
I don't
too.
get why people hate it. What about pizza on pineapple?
That
I
sounds
haven't
gross.
tried that.
Okay, I would.
My-
Depends on.
Might be a little awkward.
No, I'm not really aware of any really controversial opinions I have. I'm kind of middle of the road on a lot of stuff.
What's your opinion on free will? We argued over that last week.
That's right.
Free will. That's
See?
a tough one.
Like, were you arguing the definition of free will, or?
Well, that's we never
Well,
actually covered
yeah.
that. We started arguing
It
about
was
the
best-
minutia of
yes.
it.
Do you agree with Sam Harris, Lisa?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't on this one. I'm so confused by his
Oh.
opinion. Anyways.
Is this the AI podcast he did?
No, his free will one. He had a whole book on free will, and I'm just like, I don't understand how you could think this given physics.
All right.
And he uses physics to argue it. Anyways, don't get me
Star
started.
Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, good, yeah, good.
Ooh. All right.
Okay,
Or
no
the
es
Orville.
dos.
Come on, where's the gray line here, Rob?
I'm technically a fan of both.
Oh my god!
Okay, now I like to. So I'm actually
That
agreeing
means Star
on here
Wars.
because. What? No, I love both.
Mm-hmm.
So I will
no
watch.
to
What?
Star Wars.
So here's the deal: if Star Wars is on, I'm going to watch it. If Star Trek's on, I'm going to watch it. Right?
If both are on, you're going to watch.
Something else.
Don't make us make a philosophical thought problem. Okay, so you can only watch one thing for the rest of your life. Is it Star Trek or Star Wars and nothing else?
I'm going to have to say based on.
Can I read a book?
No, you can't read a book.
No, it's going to have to be Star Trek
'Cause there's more of it.
There's more of it, right? There's
That's
more.
not a good reason for Star Trek to win.
Perfect reason.
It's the
Just,
Star Wars has
it's about
story, right?
quality, not quantity.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, you have that both with Star Trek.
And you have to like watch the same movie every single day, pretty much.
Same
if you
seven
choose-
movies.
If you choose Star Wars, there's not as
I'll
much.
give you Rebel 1. That's 8.
It depends. Are you going to get into the Clone Wars?
Yeah, you
and
can do. You
all
can
of
watch
the,
that. Sure, you can watch
I
that.
watched
Yeah.
all those.
That's true. There's lots of Star Wars like cartoons and shit.
Star Wars
and they're
Holiday
all
Special.
canon too.
And they all suck.
Holiday special.
They do not.
Holiday
They
suck.
do.
Exactly.
They're
You gotta
super
watch
boring.
Holiday
Oh
Special.
my goodness.
The
And
Ewok movie.
Family Guy did some Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good
Yeah.
because they made fun of it.
There's also
There you
Star
go.
Trek cartoons.
That's true.
Yeah.
And there's fanfics.
That is true.
I'm sure
There
there's
were
fun.
actually that actually had decent budgets and actually had some of the actors from the series. Anyway, that has nothing to do with skepticism. I don't know who took us off track, but they're
Sounds like it
jerks.
has everything to do with skepticism.
It all started with controversial opinions.
Yes.
Now it became a Star Trek Star Wars pod.
Oh yeah, the question: how many babies?
What?
How many babies do you eat in a typical week?
Oh, I see it's 3.
Okay, no, that's fair.
That's not very many.
It's a little below average.
It's an integer
Yeah, I'm
number.
on a diet.
Nice.
So I'm, you know,
Just partial baby per day type thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
I get it.
it's good.
Yeah.
And preferred
Leftovers.
method? I like jerky, but
Baby jerky. Oh yeah.
I like mixed up in my hash.
Oh hash.
Nice.
Like in a breakfast scramble.
Yeah, yeah, like that.
It's really sick. I've come so far.
It's like
if
bacon.
you would have said this to me like 10 years ago, I'd be like, fuck you guys. I would have left a long time ago.
I'm not
not
really
like
sure
that
if
anymore.
you've come a long ways or devolved.
It's
I'm not
probably
sure.
better. I think it's more enjoyable that way, though. I don't know. I feel like I've had a lot of fun.
so how many episodes are you guys up to? 150 some, right?
123.
Wow. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we took breaks there too.
How often do you release an episode?
Once a week.
That's pretty
Usually
good.
they're usually out Wednesday morning, sometimes Tuesday night. Depends on if I feel like releasing early.
It's okay to release
Premature
it.
release. That's funny because Angela and I are both.
Angela's all for it.
I saw the look on her face.
It happens to everybody once in a while.
Angela thinks it's okay.
I'm sorry, Rob. That wasn't.
No, Destin definitely took it there. You did not take it there.
No, Lisa. Yeah, Angela totally had it there too.
And that's what you call the derail moment.
We need that sound effect back.
Yeah.
Okay, so skepticism. Is there do you have a special opinion about the world of skepticism right now? Like, there's some controversy happening. You know, fights amongst certain skeptics. Do you have any thoughts or opinions or strongly held beliefs about that stuff?
I think I probably do, and that I think both sides are being complete dicks about it. So
it's just a bunch of childish infighting.
It's not just that. I think there's a lot more involved with that, but I think I've got different things to worry about than whether podcaster A is pissed at podcaster B, right? They both probably have very good reasons for that, but I'm just not going to get into it. It's not what I do.
Fair enough.
That's fair. You're staying above
very, Switzerland.
Yeah.
See, with the atheist movement, I'm of the firm belief that same problems are in both camps. In the skeptical community, the atheist community, there's a lot of overlap, obviously. Mm-hmm. But in the atheist community, there's lots of stuff that's being discussed and a lot of bickering and fighting over stuff that has nothing to do with atheism. And that's one of the reasons I've removed myself from it as much as I can. Do you see that at all from your
yeah,
encounters?
I do see that. And I've got this cool ability of being able to separate my atheism from my humanism. Mm-hmm. So I don't do both at the same time.
I wonder, what is the purpose of an atheist community, though? What is an atheist community supposed to do?
Technically, just say I don't believe in God. That's all it's really supposed to do.
And to try to help other people to come to terms with not believing in God. Some groups in the community are strongly anti-theist, and they're fighting against theism, fighting against religion in politics or in government or in laws.
But that's all secularism or that's not atheism.
You're ascribing,
your own values
something
to
that what
the
they should
community.
be doing. When being an atheist, the only thing that means is not believing in God. You don't have to be part of the community if you don't want it. It's just a thing.
Yeah,
and that's why my show is called Secular Yakking, not Atheist Yakking, because it's more than just atheism. It's about a full secular community.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah. Secularism definitely an idea. It's.
So, can you clarify what you meant by separating humanism and atheism?
So humanism goes further. In fact, you don't even have to be an atheist to be a humanist. You can be a Christian humanist, be a Jewish humanist. Yeah. It's all about respecting others, promoting humanistic ideals, and that's kind of where the secular justice starts pulling into what I do, right? And that's why I do separate my atheism from my humanism.
Because... maybe it's just me understanding, because the more you involve yourself with being an atheist, the less humanistic you feel?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that atheism and humanism are two separate concepts. So humanism doesn't talk direct. Humanism itself doesn't say there's no God, right?
Yes,
atheism does that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, one of them's a potato, the other one's a ballpoint pen. They're totally unrelated.
Okay.
Yeah, it's to me, it's humanism goes well beyond the question of is there a God, right? And it just depends on which humanism you happen to subscribe to. I happen to be a secular humanist, which is a non-theistic humanist.
Mm-hmm. Most humanist organizations do seem to have a level of secularism and atheism involved within their code of practice or their
purview.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I agree with that. So.
Though, as you said, it's not necessary.
Right. I've known Christian humanists.
Right. I wonder. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, why don't we define humanism so that? Because I feel like it's like a ethical.
Yeah,
kind of paradigm, but maybe we could.
Well, yeah, I guess it's hard to necessarily define off the top of your head, but it is, like you say, an ethical framework in a sense where one is working towards or wants to create a thriving humanity or a thriving society.
Right.
Where everybody is equal and treated well and
Right. But with the general idea of of making as many people have a good life or good existence as possible.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
kind of the general.
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Does it have to?
Essentially.
Does it have to be Star Trek? Does it have to be evidence based? Is that necessary component of humanism?
Not for humanism.
I don't think it's
No.
in the definition of humanism, but like you say, many organizations that are humanist organizations have that as part of their manifesto.
I mean, arguably,
Yeah.
if something can't be evidence based, meaning you can't prove that it works, then you can't really say that this is helping to make
You
people
can't
happier.
prove
Right,
that you
yeah.
need a frozen lasagna.
That's true.
You can't prove that. You can't prove that you're having a sad day and you need somebody to come sit on the couch with you and watch Star Trek.
Are you going to make me lasagna and sit on the couch with me and watch Star Trek?
Yeah, I'd like to do those things. That's what I do for the people that I care about. That's my humanist contribution.
That's a good one.
So, are you an evil socialist?
I am not an evil socialist. I am a reasonable socialist.
So, you're a reasonable human being, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not fully a socialist, right? I'm close, but I'm not quite there yet.
Do you think it's okay to punch Nazis? Sorry, that was a loaded question.
There's a lot
Okay.
of fighting about that going on. So
Okay, so here's my thoughts on whether it's okay to punch a Nazi. And the question becomes, is the Nazi about to punch someone else?
That's true. You don't have to say Nazi. You could just say, is it okay to punch anyone? And then you can say, well, is it in self-defense? I mean, it's not Nazi specific.
Did they just grab my ass? Then yes, they can be
Yeah.
punched.
But I am not against yelling at them. I am not against having protest against them,
right.
right? But
So,
I don't.
Yeah,
think
you have to.
violence
It depends on the
is right way to
situation.
do it.
Like, if there's just this innocent little Nazi walking down the street, not hurting anybody,
I'm going to stop
minding
you
his
right
own
there.
business, right? That's fine.
Yes, there's fine people on both sides.
Innocent little Nazi.
But if he's walking around with a flamethrower,
All right.
then he's going to
Knock him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's got the flamethrower, then knock him
Yeah,
out.
that's
I think that's my
dividing
line.
But he's not using the
Flamethrower.
flamethrower, right?
Flamethrower or walking around. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything in the middle is kind of a gray area, but
Yeah.
got to have hard lines.
Thank you for such an eloquent answer to that question, Rob. That was good.
I do try. Like I said, I'm kind of neutral.
That's good to be neutral. It's good to be Switzerland, I think.
I think it's fine to punch a Nazi in the face if you're willing to face the repercussions of punching somebody in the face.
That is
Exactly.
true.
Like
It
being
shouldn't be
punched back.
legal to punch Nazis in the face.
No.
That doesn't change whether or not one should do it.
Well, arguably,
I enjoyed that video, right?
What's that?
I enjoyed watching that video. Don't get me
Yes.
wrong there.
I didn't
I
shed
just
one
don't-
tear.
That being said, there is no specific law saying that you're not allowed to punch Nazis.
there is, because you're not allowed to punch humans.
Is that like there's no rule against dogs playing basketball?
Right.
No, because dogs playing basketball is like an impossibility unless you watch Air Bud.
Yeah,
what I'm
specifically, there's no
saying.
rules
Apparently
in
some people
basketball
did.
that they can't play.
Anyways, arguably, the laws that we have are sort of a bare minimum ethical standard that we have in our society, right? For that you have to, like, just because
Well,
you
mixing
technically
ethics
do
with
things that are
laws.
legal doesn't mean that you're generally very ethical. But laws generally represent a bare minimum standard of how we should act, how we should comport ourselves.
So, Ray, I have a question. Let's.
Rob.
So I'm so sorry,
It
Rob.
happens all the time.
His last name is Ray, so you're not crazy.
Mr. Ray, I have a question here. So you did mention about you believe in protests. What do you? Where do you stand on how that Confederate statue was taken down?
Oh, so the one that was taken down by the government, or
No, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think a bunch of people got together and pulled it down after the fact.
Yeah, because
Where?
I believe the government wouldn't take it down.
Yeah,
Just
was
in
that-
Charlottesville,
Was
though?
that in Charlottesville?
Yeah, right.
oh,
Everything
okay.
happens
I
in
must have
Charlottesville.
missed that. But
So let's, because I don't know the full facts, hypothetically speaking, let's say there was protesters who took down a Confederate statue because, the mayor didn't or the government didn't intervene in it.
Right. I don't approve of vandalism.
Yes.
And that is a form of vandalism. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm going to stand on that.
The thing is, the problem with the Confederate statue is not that it is a chunk of metal taking up space, and it is what it means, is what it signifies.
Oh,
and
I agree. It shouldn't be there.
And it is having government a government basically sanction it because it allows it to continue existence. So you need just taking it down for illegally doesn't really change anyone's mind, and it doesn't really mean that the government is now no longer sanctioning this. So it's sort of meaningless because it only has symbolic meaning. So unless the people in power take it down, there doesn't seem to be a lot of meaning to that, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing with what just happened with the Arkansas Ten Commandments monument. Somebody came in and broke it, right? Right. And they just put up a new one. It didn't do anything to break it. Right. All it did was bring attention to it.
Right.
That's right.
What's your view on the Satanist monument?
I agree with the way the Satanists work.
Yep.
I think using the legal channels to get things like that done and show the hypocrisy of the religious people is exactly what needs to be done.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I really wish the Dudites would do that, but they're all too lazy.
They're just abiding.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I became a humanist celebrant and did some invocations.
Nice.
So
that's super. You're a celebrant, really?
Huh?
What does that mean? Am I not cool?
I mean, I am roughly clergy level humanist without actually being clergy.
You can perform marriages if you want to.
That I can, and I have.
What happened? What else can you do? What are your powers?
You can fly.
Can you shapeshift?
No, he's electrical powers, guys. Come on.
Can you heal people?
Can I heal people?
I want to know what becoming. I'm serious. It's a serious question. I want to know what becoming a celebrant does for you.
So literally, it allows me to perform marriages legally.
And that's it.
That's what it. Well, I can do funerals and things like that, and give speeches and
speeches.
Yeah,
I can do that. I can do that as a dude.
Yeah.
So wait. Do you have to register? Because you take a course. How does this work? What is the process?
Yeah, I'd like to know.
I am registered through the Humanist Society, which is adjunct of the American Humanist Association. It's the religious part of humanism. Because here in the United States, you got to get the 501c3 to be qualified to do marriages if you're not, justice of the peace or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's kind of weird. And it depends on which state you're in. Some states don't care. You can just, go register at the Spiritual Humanism online, and guess what? You can do marriages. Other states are pretty strict about it.
So less strict in places like Alabama.
Yeah.
On marriage.
Alabama.
I can say it. I used to live there.
Where didn't you used to live? Antarctica?
Yes, I didn't used to live in Antarctica.
I went to a wedding, a Catholic wedding. It was insane. The priest was just like, this marriage, which by the way is between a man and a woman, and it's never ever allowed to be between a man and a man. Blah blah blah. And we're like, the whole congregation was just like, what the fuck? Like, why are you bringing this up, dude? Like, what?
My favorite wedding ever.
The guy in a dress is saying that,
and he was lecturing the whole damn thing about how hard marriage is and what you have to do. And I'm like, you're fucking celibate, old dude. Like, what do you like? I don't even. Hopefully, anyways,
is he old?
I don't know. He was. I don't want to say anything racist. Never mind. It's hard to tell with Filipinos. Like, or how old are they?
There's some people that don't socialize very well. They just have to say weird, stupid shit. Like my uncle told a story.
Like all priests
when he lived somewhere far away. He was like, "There was a lot of black people. There's a lot of black people. There was a lot of black people." Like just
over and over.
Shut up.
Where? Like in Canada? Because that's not true.
Oh, it was in Cuba.
It's true
or
in some
something
parts.
like that. The Dominican Republic, no. I think.
Yes, Toronto. Certain parts of Toronto.
Yeah. In Canada.
Everywhere.
Toronto has a very big Caribbean community.
Yes.
I used to live there.
Population of Canada, the black community is 1.2%.
Yeah.
So still relatively small.
Yes, but in certain places you walk around and there's a lot of black people. That's all I'm saying in Canada. And I know it's a small number compared to the whole rest of the country, but I'm saying when you're there, you're like, oh, this is interesting. It's different than other places. That's all I'm saying. Am I making words?
Yes. Yes, you are.
You're making perfect sense. It's the person you're talking to. That's the problem.
Never brought that.
The funny thing is they're not disagreeing with each other.
He just goads me.
He's like, oh, Toronto has a black population, and relatively in Canada.
My point was Toronto is in Canada.
Am I not getting
I said in Canada.
I know, I got it.
So Rob, I have another question for you.
Okay.
What's your favorite part of, like, what was the most surprising thing about starting a podcast? Was there anything that, like, caught you off guard about podcasting or anything like that?
Besides the obvious stuff like all the money and fame.
And the babes.
Yeah, I've got all that and crappy equipment.
All the side pieces. That's why your wife's not there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Jesus.
I think that the most surprising thing to me was I noticed when I first got in, I thought it had to be all about this quality. I had to put out the perfect podcast, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, you listen to my podcasts; they're far from perfect.
What are you saying?
But then as I went on, I realized it was more about content. Mm-hmm. And I want to put a quality show as far as sound quality.
Yeah.
But it's not my first. It's not the first thing I start looking at, and that's changed since I started the show. And
I get that.
I think that was just
Yeah,
that's cool.
The only quality we strive for is sound quality too.
Yeah. I found that if the sound quality is too bad, then it can distract from the content.
Yeah, I agree with
but
that.
But as long as you don't have that bad of a level of content of audio, then
of course we don't know what the other side's like when the quality is too good.
Yeah.
We have an always amazing Dave here. So.
Our
Dave is
audio
always
quality
amazing.
is always good.
Dave is he's never not amazing.
The mustache.
But it's okay to not always be amazing.
I was just gonna bring up the mustache.
Qualify that a bit, but
he's even more amazing because he has a mustache right now.
Can you just say it's a Movember thing, like you're getting a start on it? Like it's
the head start.
No, I'm trying to be counter November.
Movember.
Yeah, November.
I grew mine in October.
No Movember.
Is the Movember movement strong down there, Rob?
We know about it. No, I think it's pretty strong down here. There's quite a bit. I mean, I've got people at work that sign up for the Movember thing, and it's got a decent movement down here. I think
we're talking about Washington, though. It's like hipster capital of the world.
Yeah,
like
everybody has a beard.
No, it's number 2. Portland.
Yeah,
is hipster capital of the world.
But is Portland a real place?
It is.
The dream of the
Oddly
90s
enough.
is still alive there.
Yeah, that's weird.
I drove through it once.
And?
I don't know if I'd rather go there or Detroit.
Wow. Harsh words.
You'd rather go to Portland.
I want to go to Voodoo Donut. I want to go to Voodoo Donut.
Me too.
Where is that?
It's in Portland. I want to see the places that Chuck Palahniuk writes about in his book.
Cool. I'd go there with you.
Let's totally go. Right after this podcast.
Yeah, we'll totally go.
We'll stop. We'll bang on Rob's door. Rob, Amy, what are you doing? Yeah.
Honey, we both have to go to a birthday party tomorrow for a 6-year-old.
Sorry, kids. We had to ditch for a road trip.
It's my kid's party, so I better show up. Fucking made the cupcakes.
Just quickly cardboard cutout Lisa.
He'll never notice.
Just quickly record. Don't do that. Don't touch that.
That's about right. That's approximately what I say.
We got anything else?
Sure. What is something that you think is really going well in the atheist community right now?
That's a tough one.
Silence.
Womp womp. There's a larger majority of atheists than there used to be.
That is true. I mean, I think the nuns in America are up to like 23%. Here's one. It's a news story we just reported on last week on the show, is that 56% of Americans believe you don't have to have God to be a good person.
That's impressive.
Noteworthy.
Yeah. In 2011, it was at like 46% or something like that.
Right.
So it's growing. If you know your next door neighbor's an atheist and he's not a bad person, obviously you can be good without God. So,
do you think it's possible that Donald Trump is helping the atheist movement because he's so obviously not religious, and people are like, whatever, who cares? Like the people who voted for him were just like religious themselves. We're like, who cares? We elect the guy who's only playing lip service to a religion. No.
is
that good?
Kind of. The problem that I see is that his diehard followers, especially evangelical Christians, honestly believe that he is a Christian.
Oh,
and
they're taking
him at his word.
Oh.
Yeah.
That, and he took Pence as his vice president.
Yeah.
And that man is a dominionist theocrat. So,
yeah.
I mean, he's got it. He's got the evangelicals wrapped around his finger.
Ew, that's disgusting.
I was thinking what was actually what it is a lot of people just went, Trump won. That proves there is no God.
The thing about the percentage of people that don't believe in God or the percentage of people in the States that believe in something, it's really skewed because your extremists on either side are what really set it apart, right? Like in the States, 7% of adults believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
Yeah.
Whoa. Chocolate milk doesn't come from brown cows? What?
It doesn't.
In Canada, 1 Canadian believes chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
No, and they were just joking.
Yeah.
How do you know?
That's absolutely
Don't
right.
mansplain me, Cory.
The United States is full of uneducated people. I will freely admit that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the American government's fault. And I don't mean that as a conspiracy theory. It's the dumbing down of America, right?
Yeah. They keep lowering the education standards to meet the lowest common denominator, and no one is learning anything.
And now instead of grades, you have the DEFCON colors for...
Yeah.
But
same thing is happening here in Canada.
Yeah, we're not lowering standards. Like if we're measuring it like what we're doing in Canada, we're adapting to, because we're not doing standardized testing, for example, as much anymore.
It's more
like,
individualized learning.
Yeah, it's not like they decided, kids are dumber now. There's different methods of learning, right? So like if I were to take this back to Canada, the United States and matter of education, I'm not disagreeing that there's a problem when it comes to, like, for example, 70% of adults thinking. I don't know how that stat's even honestly measured, but is it true? Like, what are we defining education as? Like, for example, if you were to ask me anything about being an electrician, I'd be considered uneducated.
Well, we're talking about coming out with reasonably common ideas about how the world works, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious that chocolate milk does not come from a brown cow.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
So it should be fairly obvious that should be a 0%, but the problem is that's a 7%. And a lot of it comes down to this idea that a lot of Americans have about elitism and education. There's a wide swath of America that believes educated people are horrible people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
And then there's another group of people who are against any sort of change in our educational policies. You start talking about things like Common Core principles. You're like, no, you're not teaching my kids that Common Core crap, right? And I'm like, you don't even know what Common Core is.
It came out during the Obama administration, though, right? So it has to be the devil.
Exactly. And they talk about kids bringing home their math homework and they don't understand how it works or what it is, and they get pissed off, and then they go to schools, and guess what? We're no longer teaching our kids up to Common Core standards.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of problem with our educational system.
There's a lot of emphasis in the United States about trying to industrialize education, so that you apply this and then child comes out smart, like to standardize everything, make everyone the same, everyone follows this, and if we have this standard, and if teachers do at least this, and they have at least this much education, and they follow the exact same recipe, the kids will come out great, whereas like some places like Finland has some of the highest test scores in the world, and they kind of do sort of the opposite, and they give teachers professional discretion to teach as they see fit, and they don't give homework very much, and blah, blah, and they do all these, but it's not standardized in any way, and yet they consistently have very, very well performing students. So
I've seen a lot of people in the West compare test scores and education levels to like
Sweden,
or even to like China, where they go to school all year and they have these. I mean, for a while there was all this talk about bringing the concept of the tiger mom over here and being like hard on our kids.
That's that Asian sort of like Singapore, or Japan sort of perspective is very different. But
yeah, well, and that's.
But Finland kicks their ass.
I wonder, like, because we have already been so individualized, and then you can't heap that standardized form onto a society that's individualized the way ours is. I just wonder if there's a different culture that they're trying to bring this other idea over because the test scores are different. And
Cory actually brings up a really good point. And I remember a while ago we had a discussion that how Sweden and Germany's economy does so well, and people ask, why can't America reflect the same way? It's because there's a lot of variables involved, and it sounds like a simple solution by saying we can just go ahead and mimic it, but there's culture that's involved.
Right.
There's a huge history of how we got to where we are, and just simply mimicking, maybe starting it and building a new, maybe changing a foundation, but this is not really going to be anywhere close to being a simple fix.
A lot of what's wrong with the education system is socioeconomical, right?
Well, yeah, that's.
Absolutely.
It's my family can't afford to eat. I can't go to school. I have to go get a job at McDonald's.
Well, it's weird down there too, because you have to worry, if I live in this neighborhood, my kid will go to this school, and this one's really shitty, and if I live in this neighborhood, that kid's school too. Whereas we have some variability here, but by and large, I don't know, the schools are
all pretty good.
Yeah, we do have that large discrepancy, even on neighboring neighborhoods, right?
Right.
Just because our schools here are generally funded by land value tax.
Yeah.
Right.
So that has a lot
wrong.
to do with it.
Why would you give poor kids a worse chance? Kids are going to they're not even poor kids.
That's what I mean.
They're kids with poor parents.
Well, and that's where it comes down again.
Kids.
Places like Finland, they put a huge emphasis on education
and equality and equal access.
They pay their teachers the wage of a doctor,
right?
Because the job is just as fucking important.
It's very
in the
important.
the States and Canada. I'm not just picking on the U.S. We don't fund education nearly to the level of other countries. In Sweden, anybody can go to the university for free.
Right.
I can
like that too.
Yeah, I can get up, move to Sweden tomorrow, and go to school for free. Right. Here, it costs, master's degrees, doctorates, right? They cost a ridiculous amount of money. And any degree below a PhD is basically useless.
Oh, don't worry. A PhD is useless too.
No.
Nice.
You're a doctor.
Yeah. I have one of the very few professions that requires a PhD to do it. I can't think of any others except for professor.
Except you don't get paid as well as a doctor.
And I don't get paid as well as I don't get paid nearly close to as well as a doctor.
No. Even though you're more educated than most doctors.
Slightly. But in terms of numbers of years of school. Anyways.
Actually, I think there was something about, it might have been Finland is starting a program where Canadian kids can go to school in Finland, university for free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's
Canadian in particular.
Yeah.
Is there an age cap on that?
I'm not sure how it works.
Because I'd be interested.
They can't discriminate on age.
But if
Finland can't get you. We need you.
If our country, if Canada right now,
I'd come back.
if they paid the first 2 years of university,
Like they do in Quebec, CEGEP.
yeah, then everybody would have a way better chance. And a kid that comes from a poor home where they have no money after 2 years of excellence would have no trouble getting scholarships or getting student loans.
But you got to set people up. If you're coming from a really disadvantaged background, you're going to have trouble succeeding at that level. You need help all the way through, right from very young age all the way up. And that includes, by the way, early childhood education, because we throw kids into school 5-6 years old, and a lot of stuff is already set in their brains. We need, like, there's a huge variability in the kind of care children get when they're very young, and the more we can equalize that, the better.
Yeah, well, ESIP needs way more funding.
I don't know what that is, but sure.
Early childhood intervention program. Sorry.
Do you guys have like a 2-year vocational or trade school type thing?
Yes.
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
And they're actually some of the highest paid people in our country.
Definitely highest paid people.
Yeah. Plumbers, electricians.
Hey, I have a question. Do in the States student loans get tax credited? At least the interest on them?
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's because like in Canada at least, student loans, the interest you pay on them, they're essentially written off for taxes. So hypothetically speaking, it looks like you have an interest-free loan.
Yeah.
As long as you graduate.
I know that your house interest is, but I don't know about student loans since I don't have one.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Wait, your house interest is tax credited?
On my mortgage.
I am so jealous.
It's yeah.
I
don't
am
know
so
why it
jealous.
is.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
You're jealous. What's your mortgage rate?
Mine is 5.
Yeah, I'm not jealous.
Okay,
okay.
No. But like 5 is not bad. Like here's the thing, he's getting it back most of it during tax time, right? Ours, like right now, our lock in of 5 years, 3.19.
Well, here's another question. What's your interest? What's your income tax rate?
Is it, you have a progressive tax system, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, like marginally speaking, how much someone would making, let's say, $50,000 a year, roughly how much would they pay in taxes? For here, it's like roughly 23%.
Yeah, I think someone making 50,000, and depending on deductions and things like that, you're probably going to run around 15%.
But they don't have any health care. They have to, pay $1,000 a month for health care insurance.
Yeah, I pay more. I pay almost more in health care insurance monthly than I do in regular taxes on my premiums.
Wow.
So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
So there's a lot of benefits.
So do we. It's just in our
problem
taxes.
is, my
way better
health
shipping
insurance
rates, though.
sucks.
Yeah.
Right? It really does. I mean, my surgery is going to cost me a fucking ton. So.
Right. Whereas here it would cost you nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it cost you time. You'd probably wait 6 months for it. But
No, it costs us about 10% of our income goes.
Yeah, we pay healthcare through tax.
obviously somebody fucking pays for it, but you're not going to be charged extra more than anyone else.
So I pay. So let's say I pay 10% roughly in health insurance premiums. It's not quite that much, but it's getting close to up there. Then I still have to pay the deductibles before my insurance kicks in.
Yeah.
Oh, and then when it kicks in, it's 80/20.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like in a lot of insurances here as well.
Well, yeah, but a surgery
Not
there is going to be
for-
like $300,000, and he still has to pay.
Well,
$60,000
like
of it.
emergencies, so we don't obviously.
No, we have to pay for drugs and dental and vision and that's debatable as to whether or not we should have to. But our core healthcare needs are like something like a knee surgery would be covered.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I waited 30 years to have this knee surgery.
Jesus.
It's good. I had to wait till I could afford it.
Right.
Well, and it's
Or
funny.
till I absolutely had to, and that was the situation. I absolutely had to have it now.
Like from a healthcare system general standpoint, that's ridiculous because you could get worse in that period, and then it costs so much
And I
more.
did.
Yeah,
I actually did. I had more injuries over that time period, which
Right.
completely destroyed my
right.
knee.
Or if you never want to go to the doctor because it costs money to go, then you're going to wait way too long before you get intervention, and then it's either too late or it costs so much more. Like it's ridiculous.
So how
Or
did
you have to go to the emergency room at that point, which
Yeah.
cost 10 times more than
Absolutely.
just going to the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so did Obamacare help you?
As in
Like
me personally?
Your situation.
Yeah.
No, I don't qualify for Obamacare. I make too much money.
Okay.
And I mean, I could get Obamacare, right? Because I could still pay for Obamacare, right? The ACA, because it would still be buying insurance through the private market. Okay. But I wouldn't have qualified for any of the subsidies because I make too much money.
Yeah, so there's no real benefit.
Yeah, to me, it's no benefit, right? Plus, my employer provides insurance through.
Well, the ACA was there to help the lowest 25%, right? Was it 25?
Something like that. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think at the time, well over 20% of the United States did not have health insurance at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Very enlightening.
I like socialist healthcare.
Do you?
Yep.
I don't know a lot of people who live in this country who don't like it and who are like, I wish we had a system like the States.
I know
that would be amazing.
I know some people.
They can go down to the States and get their health care down there anytime they want. They can go nuts.
Some of them do because they have the money. And that's why they don't like our healthcare, because they're rich.
That is true.
Yeah.
We do tax a lot here. And there's a lot of controversies around our tax system, but we do have a lot of people who get licensing here to become doctors, or for example, and then end up moving to the States due to taxes.
Well, just income.
Yes. And states do pay higher.
Yeah, they're not capped like they are here.
Mm-hmm. But, I do agree.
But we have enough physicians. We don't have enough GPs in a lot of rural areas, for example. Mm-hmm. But specialists, except for geriatricians, I don't think we're really... What are we low on?
Pediatric gastroenterologists.
Are you?
The one pediatric gastroenterologist in our province retired.
But is that because you can't find one, or because the province isn't willing to pay for one?
Well, that would be the next. I don't know. It's a tough. People are. I don't know. I don't know if it's a province not willing to pay for it. I think the way doctors get paid is problematic, though.
And what specialists were you talking about, Lisa?
Well, Saskatchewan is kind of mired by small number statistics, right? Like you kind of only need so many pediatric gastroenterologists, so you kind of have this issue. Mm-hmm. Most specialists that I've encountered in my, albeit limited perception, they normally have to do they'll do their residency, then they can't quite find a job, so they'll do a fellowship, and then they'll do another fellowship, and then eventually. But we don't. Not that I know that many unemployed doctors, but it's like. Our positions are all filled, and we. Yeah, no.
Which one did you say that was? It geriatrician?
Well, geriatrics, I believe, is underrepresented.
Well, see, that's the one where if you're on a waiting list long enough, the problem solves itself, right?
For fuck's sake.
Okay. On that note, we're going to go to a commercial break.
Thanks for putting up with this, Rob.
Thanks,
been
Rob.
a pleasure having
you.
you.
Love you, Ray.
It was electrifying.
I enjoyed it as well.
I got a charge out of it.
Where can people find your show?
So I made it really easy. Just go to secularyakking.com. That's with 2 Ks. And that's where you'll find us.
Awesome.
So SEKKUL.
Yes.
You're such an asshole.
Yes, I am.
No, awesome.
I'm wired after that.
Thanks again, and I guess we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Have a
Take
good
care.
night.
Peace out.
And we'll go to a commercial break.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/brainstorm podcast gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of Clothing, atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
Use the code BRAINSTORM at absenceofclothing.com and get 10% off. The Hardcore Skeptic Examines is a bi-monthly documentary-style podcast that includes interviews, research, and commentary from your host, Cory Johnston. That's me. As the host of the Brainstorm podcast, I've spent the last 3+ years trying to spread critical thinking and skepticism while having fun. This project is intended to look at some of those same topics covered by Brainstorm, but a bit deeper. With the long intervals between episodes and the long format, I'm hoping to provide good information that educates as well as entertains. Check out my Patreon for more details at www.patreon.com/hardcoreskeptic or follow my Twitter at hardcoreskeptic.
Oh, hey there. I didn't see you. I'm Sarah, the host of the Salty Canadian podcast. If you want a podcast that is full of fun, rants, reviews, and just random stuff, then this is a podcast for you. We can be found on any podcast catcher, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and have a great day.
You're coming, aren't you?
All right, and we're back.
1:30.
Everybody get your mics all ready and your
Dino
headphones
Bouncers
back on.
Sweet.
All right.
Is that what you call? Never mind.
Is that what you call? Never mind. That's.
Come on.
Well, no. When you
No, leave it up to the audience.
In Hollywood and places where you have rich old men marrying young women. Is that what they're called? What they're doing?
Bouncers?
Dino bouncing.
I see what you. I see
That's
what
what
you.
she's doing.
That's
yeah.
what she's doing. Yeah.
Me?
Tiny bouncers.
If you marry an old Hollywood mogul,
Oh,
yes.
you're not like accusing me. Not as far as I know.
That's dino bouncing.
Dinosaurs.
Geriatric gymnastics. That came out.
Jerry Mansix.
Gerimastics.
Jerry Mandarin.
We kind of touched on it a little bit with our chat with Rob, but we wanted to talk this time about the atheist and skeptic communities and what expectations people have about it. And you made it pretty clear, Gumby, that you think that this should just be about atheism.
Well, welcome to episode 30 of the Skeptic Studio.
Yes. 31. Actually, that number's wrong.
Whoa.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, it makes sense that you'd have like the simple number of which episode it is because you do spend 7 hours a day on this.
Well, actually, I put out an extra interview.
Actually, I did.
So
how many hours a day do you spend on the podcast?
None.
Good.
Not even when I'm here.
So, yeah.
My view of the
He's got notes. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I don't know what's
this
happening.
is scary.
So the question is, what do you think the atheist community / movement or skeptic community / movement should be about? I don't know. Atheism and skepticism?
But atheism is just one thing, right?
Right. So the atheist community should be about atheism.
But then it's not a community. What is the point of a community that sits around and says, yeah, okay, there's no God? It's the easiest question in the world.
I think having a specific community just for atheism is a really inviting way to help people come out of the religious closet.
God, you're touchy-feely today.
Okay.
Right.
What if those people are racists?
What if the guy coming out of the religious thing is a racist?
Well, but what if a black person who is an atheist wants a community, but then encounters racism in the atheist community? Is then race issues an issue that the atheist community needs to tackle?
No, race issues is a topic everybody needs to tackle.
Okay, that's fair.
So also the atheist movement?
In everybody, the atheist community is in that.
Right, but it shouldn't be a main topic of the atheist community. Right?
Interesting.
Specifically.
Like,
because if the community is there to simply address the lack of or non-religious, to help people through becoming non-religious, right? That movement isn't racist.
Except for
if you have a racist asshole in the group, then it's up to the group whether they want to allow this guy to be a racist in the group.
Well, yeah,
right?
Okay, so say they let that guy be a racist. He's a racist, but they let him be in the group because he's an atheist, and we're welcome to all atheists.
Or she's a racist. Because I'm sorry, stop being so sexist.
Or sexist.
Equal opportunity.
Sure.
or they.
Or
they.
Or whoever
That's right.
pronoun you would like.
But now we're branching into subjects that aren't atheism. Right? At some point,
because now that's where this is where it all gets, because it all gets into everyone splitting hairs and into. I mean, if you want to talk about atheism does go into some political different ideologies, right? Because he touched on it about the humanism and secularism and whatever else. But when you're starting to deal with those individual problems, which maybe even it's groups of individuals, whatever. Like when it gets into racism, it's not just because then it just becomes an argument of isms, obes, and is.
Yeah.
And it just, we could just sum it all up. But people are assholes. You're going to find assholes in no matter what group.
Fair, but isn't it important to, if you're creating as open a space as you can, to address some of these issues and to say, okay, so we don't like racism, therefore we're open to people of color, and then you get fighting about, well, race isn't an issue that atheism should touch on. I just wonder, isn't, like you say, there's assholes in every community, but isn't being in a community part of dealing with that stuff?
Sure, but you can have a community of atheists that all wear white pointy hats, right?
You can.
There's still a group of atheists, right? And I'm not that I'm condoning white pointy hat wearers.
I'm just thinking that very statement right there.
I know,
but
I know it because it's a Christian thing. I get it.
Yeah, but okay.
Just an
theoretically,
example, right? You could be in places where it's predominantly.
I mean, I think it boils down to is okay, we'll put it back into the religious ideology, right? You can have everyone that they're Christians, but there's 3,000 different denominations of Christianity, and
right.
and it.
And in a very real way, we have the same thing going on in atheism. Yeah. There's black non-believers. There's secular she thinkers. There's a variety of different groups for different people so that they feel welcome where they are. And quite often they're separate from what you would call, quote unquote, atheists.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what is that a thing that everybody's cool with? We're just cool with having different.
I think there's a point where you just have to kind of accept it. There is because you're going to be bashing your head against the wall. To keep with it, because I'm just dying to make this joke. There's going to be people in the Christianity group that are just say fuck the Baptists. You're going to end up with that kind of.
What about? Okay, so there does seem to be a mainstream or group though, right? There does seem to be the atheist mainstream community.
Yeah.
So fuck the mainstream.
So what do we do with that? Do we make it open to anyone who wants to join, or do we say, okay, no, if you want special interests, you have to have your own group?
Well, and I think
it all depends on how strongly they feel about those special interests. I mean, if it becomes a core problem and somehow, for whatever reason, if it clashes against the mainstream idea, then I guess
It depends what the mainstream idea is.
Yeah, it's
What you're having is a lot of times there's a clash of logic and emotion, or just logic in a grand scale and community-minded ethics or social ethics, and sometimes they're not compatible, right? Sometimes they should be they're separate things.
But the word community lends itself to support and togetherness and helping your fellow human. And if we are going to define the atheist community in a certain way, I mean, to me, it's helping people. It's supporting people who are leaving a tough religious background or whatever, and help them navigate those gray areas of belief to non-belief in a God, and that's more important. But the mainstream, like, who decides? Who's the atheist authority? You know,
where's our atheist pope? God damn it!
Right.
We need an atheist pope.
I'd say he's a death metal star that burns down churches.
So when I kind of first realized I was an atheist, I was just like, okay, cool. Like, I didn't search out any community or any. I mean, to be fair, I didn't lead some particularly religious life. I didn't have to leave anything like that with family. I was in academia at the time, which is just very godless. So like, it wasn't really. It was just like, yeah, whatever, cool. So this is my only touch onto anything atheist ever. Like, the only time I've ever interacted with other people.
Because I have to admit, like, when Cory, when you post all this atheist stuff, I'm like reading, going interesting, but I feel like so removed.
Like, I don't really feel like I care. I mean, I loved reading books written by atheists. Like, you know, I really enjoyed reading whatever the God Delusion or whatever. You know, I love. You know, and I thought it was really. I'm like, oh, interesting argument. And to me, like, everything should be a debate. But I'm never gonna. I don't want some pope to tell me what I need to be thinking. That's not, to me, that's antithetical to why I'm an atheist. I mean, people might be an atheist for all sorts of reasons, but to me, being an atheist is about believing in evidence-based beliefs or feeling like I should have evidence-based views. So that's what that's about for me. So I don't need somebody to dictate this stuff down for me. I'm interested in science, you know, and I'm interested in debunking science. Maybe I'm more of a skeptic in that sense, but like, to me, atheism is just like, you could be, I think you could be an atheist for a variety of reasons. You might just feel like, no, I just feel there isn't a God. You know, just the way people say, I feel there must be one. Like, you know, and to me, that would be antithetical to why I am one. Right. So I don't know.
There's lots of different types of atheism.
Yeah, obviously. No, that's right.
Like, I am a staunch anti-theist atheist. It's.
But no, there's not a lot of kinds of atheism.
Yes,
it's just believe in God or there's not. You believe
that's true, right? Like,
and then,
you just said there's different reasons. That makes
there's different
types of atheism.
No, you're still an atheist. You don't believe in God, you're an atheist. That's the definition. Doesn't matter how you got there. Doesn't matter if you're also a theist or you're also a secularist or you're also a humanist or whatever.
There are people who identify as atheists who still believe that there could be a supernatural being.
And I would argue they are not atheists.
I would also make that argument, but
well, and there's the different levels of atheism.
Okay, wait. Actually, no, hang on.
Like,
it is true that there could be a supernatural being. Of course, it is true there could be. Like, there's a slight possibility of it.
In it. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Like I remember, I was reading one of Dawkins' like more of his recent releases, and the way, like, I noticed the people who are identified as like the popular atheists, whether it be like Sam Harris, Dawkins, they don't really like talking about themselves as an atheist. So, my feeling towards atheism is: are we willing to accept one universal definition of what it is, or are we willing to accept that it can change over time, just like how everything changes over time?
That's an interesting question.
I think
it's actually the Dawkins 7-point scale is what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Okay,
and I'm a solid 6.
Right.
Most of us would consider ourselves
you're
a 6.
Solid 10.
It only goes to 7.
No,
because 7.
6 is de facto atheist. Very low probability, but short of 0. I don't know for certain, but I think God is very improbable, and I live my life on the assumption that he is not there. A strong atheist would say, I know there is no God, with the same conviction as Jung knows there is one, right? But you can't know. That's the thing.
See, to me, somebody who's a 7, right, says, I know for sure there is no God.
It's the same as
I
one.
consider them an atheist. However, I don't really consider myself to have anything in common with them, because if you can't realize that you don't necessarily know 100% for sure without any shadow of a doubt something,
Right.
you're not coming to an evidence-based decision, and the way you came to your atheism is not the same as mine. I don't have that much in common with you, and I don't think I'd be on your podcast, and that's fine. That's fine.
And that's what I mean
Whatever.
about different levels of atheism, right? So you have that
But they're
guy.
both atheists. They come at it from different ways. And that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, I probably wouldn't be in a Facebook group with them.
So, okay, instead of atheist, I am a super agnostic. It's the same thing.
Well, yeah, sure. Well,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah.
But no, I came to atheism because of very strong anti-theist view. Like I not only do I not believe in God, I don't give a shit if God exists. Religion is bullshit and it's harmful. That's my stance.
But that has nothing to do with other. I mean, religion can be incredibly harmful, but if it was true that there was really a God, that would still be true.
Right.
Right. But I would still be an anti-theist.
Right.
Religion being harmful is not an atheist position necessarily.
No. But it generally is.
Well, generally, it would probably fall within the mainstream of atheism.
That would be something that the people in the atheist community would be one of their talking points. The harms of religion.
But to me, that's not like when people try to say, "Oh, well, religion is harmful, therefore you should be an atheist." I don't find that convincing at all, because it's like, no, it has not.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's fair, because it's.
But like, for example, I could say the devil is harmful, right? But that doesn't.
But that doesn't. Yeah, no,
anyway,
that doesn't say that God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
No.
No. Yeah, it's just we all bring values into the community we're a part of, and it seems to me that depending on the values you bring in, that's what you expect to get out.
Maybe my thought is because everybody brings their own values, because everybody has different values.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really have any, but people bring their own values. And
that's not true. You just expressed one.
Right.
Your
okay.
lack of value is a value.
Anti-theism.
I know. I'm sarcastic.
Let's fucking have a real discussion here.
Yeah.
We only have 6 minutes before the music breaks.
Okay, so everybody brings their own views, their own luggage, we'll call it.
Yep.
Well, if everybody unpacks all their luggage at the same place, there's no room for anybody to sit, and that's part of my problem, because everybody has opposing views on everything else, and the actual reason for the community gets ignored.
Well, I think that's where the one plus, shall we say, of religion is. Because, you know what, when you're sitting in the pews, okay, everyone turn to whatever page on the Bible, everyone has, this is our Bible, you know, there is that unifying idea. Now, what everyone's thinking as they're singing the boring hymn and listening to the sermon, that's their own thing.
Yeah, because when you can just make shit up and tell everyone, believe
Yes.
this, it's a lot easier.
But
yes,
that's what I mean.
yes.
It's a lot easier to be part of that
Yes.
community, right?
Yeah.
Because you have that, everyone just...
Yeah, that's
Everyone
right.
believe this, but especially if you're coming at atheism from an evidence-based point of view, then you can't just be like, everyone just believe this. You have to go through it. You have to
But
explain.
what
it.
I'm
You have-
meaning is
you know,
that's
it's
where
sort of
the
nature.
community is easier to be in that, because like what Gumby was saying
I
is,
agree.
and this is probably where all the infighting is because they all come in, and it's kind of a very individualistic thing, and it's like, well, you're not as an atheist as I am. I'm more atheist than thou, you know, like, and that's where I think some of the fighting is coming from.
Or this guy's a shitty atheist because he hit his wife, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't affect his atheism. He's just a terrible human being.
You have to understand that everybody is inherently, like we've
Shitty.
already said, there's assholes in every
Yes.
in every movement, but we're also inherently selfish, and we also see things through our own experiences, through the filter of people that we've encountered in our past. And yeah, everybody brings their own set of suitcases to a relationship, to any kind of an encounter, and it's just a matter of, in a relationship, finding somebody with compatible baggage. Does my suitcase match your suitcase? And can I put up with your suitcase? Is mine smaller than yours and yours is bigger, so it'll fit in our closet still?
Can we agree on a place to unpack them separately?
Exactly.
Hey, can we all just leave our luggage in our rooms and go to the meeting?
Yeah, and that's the
thing.
It's just
can't be done.
Except their values, so you can't just leave them in your room.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the fighting revolves
do you show
around
up
those
at the meeting
values.
naked? Is that what's happening?
In
a good relationship,
around those values, but it's also.
No,
we have to humanize these people, right?
Why?
We have to humanize these people because if it's a community, we have to respect each other. We have to respect. You have shit going on in your life, and you're treating somebody else like shit. You're pissed off at so and so, calling them a hypocrite or a coward or whatever because they said a thing, and you have to be respectful. Otherwise, what the fuck is the point of a community unless we can support each other and treat each other like humans?
But
there's no point.
See, the
Then
problem.
we can just live in our individual apartments and just fucking watch Netflix at length and just fucking die.
So
that's my plan.
I was going to say that doesn't sound so bad. Can I Netflix?
So I have my own apartment and Netflix.
We can do that in the same room and eat lasagna and crochet/knit.
Now, like my concern with that is when you say we humanize them, they're thinking, let's say someone that's coming in racist knows or believes they're sincerely not being racist.
Yes.
So they're thinking they're humanizing you.
Yeah, humanizing based on whose values.
Humanizing is relative. So what you think is humanizing to me might not necessarily be vice versa.
But to me, it's
we're fighting over the definition of what is.
Exactly. So that's where the problems were lied.
Wait, what is definition?
I don't understand.
What is the definition of the word definition?
I no longer know.
I don't think humanizing people is relative. It's you either respect somebody or you don't. You either respect somebody's ability or right to exist, or you don't.
See,
that's
we're in a room that we all agree with you. I sincerely agree with you. Now the problem is we're not trying to communicate with each other. We're trying to communicate on how we can make the racist in the community, and that comes into the atheist community, how we can make them see our values, because when we go talk to them, we're willing to accept he's wrong in every way or she's wrong in every way when they're when they're I'm sorry about that.
Just say
when they're being racist, and we're right when we're saying that we're not the racist ones. So,
well, again, I mean, we're talking about what values we bring to the community. Mm-hmm. I know that there are people who don't want to be part of the community, and that's fine for them.
Yes.
And I think that when we join a community, if we want to be part of a community or our group of friends or whatever, then we have to, on some level, acknowledge, that we each have different values and we may have conflicts.
It's funny because I follow a bunch of people from the skeptics community and it's really weird because I've separated myself from the actual community as much as I can, but I'm still involved with certain people in it.
Right.
But it's not because of the community; it's because of those individuals.
Fair enough.
Like Callie Wright, she's a fantastic human being.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still be involved with the community and separate from it.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
And that's where I'm trying to stay.
Yeah. No.
Because I just don't want to get tied up in all the bullshit in it because it just takes away from everything. That's my problem.
There is something to be said about the conflict taking over rather than helping the community. But I think that there's going to be conflict as long as there are different values.
As long as there's people.
Yeah, as long as there's people. Okay, let's go to a music break.
Arcade Fire.
Never.
Sweet.
For live listeners and patrons, you can enjoy the next few minutes. And then we'll be back.
Fire?
Never. For regular feed subscribers, this is where we'll end the Skeptic Studio. Remember to check out the Shift to Reason Radio next week to hear listener feedback, new patrons, and iTunes reviews. So, our music this week is Doomed by A Perfect Circle.
New song.
White Lies, Black Truth by Slick Toxic.
1989.
Try 92.
Is it 92?
And Courage by The Tragically Hip as kind of our
little tribute to Gord Downey.
Oh, I thought about starting a cover band for the Tragically Hip, like an homage to Tragically Hip, hip replacements.
Just play the music.
Yeah.
All right, we're done. Plug your
more.
stuff. Angela was on a show.
I was on the Women Beyond Belief podcast.
Yay!
It was an impromptu Skype chat that turned into a podcast.
And it was
fun.
quite good.
Well, did you listen to
Yeah,
it?
of course I listened
Good.
to
Oh, nice. Feedback is welcome.
I have no feedback. It was brilliant.
No.
It was amazing.
Sounds consistent with Angela.
That sounds like feedback to me.
I like the part where you had words.
Yeah?
Yeah, the words.
Had
You
the
didn't
greatest
understand
words.
them.
No, but they were there.
It
And there
was two women talking. I'm pretty sure you tuned out after the first word.
That's the lady dick being wailed around there, man.
I just slapped you with my lady dick.
It's not that I didn't hear you. It's that I wasn't listening.
Exactly. You tuned out. In your head, you were like, la,
Not only did I didn't understand you, I didn't listen.
Oh, this is a fun episode.
It takes us a while to get warmed up. Once we do, it's...
Hey, now the show's really good. And we're
59
done.
minutes later.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. So Angela, the Shift to Reason planning team, and I started a GoFundMe with a goal of $5,000. This will go towards the conference we're trying to put on, and yeah.
I
We're
even
committed.
posted a video
Yes.
of myself talking.
We're 10% there, right?
We are.
And all donations go directly to your ticket price.
That's right. All donations go directly to your ticket price.
And the more donations, the lower the ticket price.
I'll fucking make you a blanket if you like over donate.
So if I put in like $100, you'll make me a blanket?
If you put in like $100 plus $100, I'll make you a fucking blanket.
So like $150.
Okay, just go on Etsy and get someone to make. She's busy, okay? Like
That's banker math right there.
Yeah,
$100 plus $100, so
You can
$150.
hook me up with the wealthy benefactor, so I don't have to work. I will make you a fucking blanket.
Yeah,
Is it a nice blanket?
It's the best.
she makes beautiful blankets. I can.
I guess that's her plug-in.
All right, let's cue that outro music. Oh, I guess the Shift to Reason GoFundMe is at gofundme.com/Shift to Reason Conference 2018 with dashes in between all those words.
Give us money.
Please.
We'll
Stay
put on
away
a
from
great
B.O.B.
conference with demonstrating the intersection between skepticism and social justice. And it will be harassment-free environment.
With childcare.
So come be
With child
Yeah,
care.
go be
Bring your kids.
I don't think you can guarantee that. You can try.
We can take care of and remove anybody who is engaged in harassment.
We'll punch them like they're Nazis.
Fuck yeah. So you can check out the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net. Thanks to our financial supporters, Aaron, Daryl, Destin, Sucks, Lachlan, Lisa, Magnus, Michael, Nathan, Positively Skeptical, Rob, Stephanie, and Will. If you want to join their ranks and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. You can join us live every second week when we broadcast live on Spreaker. You can join us at spreaker.com/user/brainstormpodcast. Our next guest is Michael Smith from the Poorly Summarized Podcast.
Sweet.
I want to thank Rob for joining us, and I lament that Amy could not. You can find more about their podcast at secularyakking.com. I'll put the link in the show notes. Thanks to Dave for our intro music. Thanks to Alex Kapper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for the intro and some of our ads. And thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff over at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your favorite podcatcher. And join our Facebook group. Like our page, join us on Twitter, share the show, and spread the word. For live listeners, stick around for the after show. You can go to mixler.com/the-brainstorm-podcast and listen to the bonus content before it goes patron only. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interactions with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.